Okay, so we have a couple of more authors, but we are going to do a shout out for domestic violence. This is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And if anybody who's a survivor has anything that they want to say, they are free and welcome to come up. The next person that we have that's going to be reading an excerpt is Miss Marilyn here. Shout out to DST, my Greek D9 sister. Okay, let's give her a round of applause as she comes.
I want to first give God the glory. I am a domestic violence survivor. Most people think when they talk about domestic violence, they think about the partners, but they don't think about the children. And what I witnessed during domestic violence, no person should ever witness. So I give him all the glory. My name is Mrs., because he put a ring on it, and I honor my husband, Dr. Marilyn M. Brown. You call me Marilyn when I give you permission to. So you have permission to call me Marilyn. My book is a trilogy, and I will be reading an excerpt. First of all, you'll be the first ones to ever hear this other than my husband. And, oof. So, my publisher, Nikki, she said, you got to go out and start reading. And I was like, And then my husband said, we share is doing the authors. It's like everything back to back led to like right here. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do this. No, it's not ready. So it's an excerpt. My book is a draft. It's a trilogy. This is from the third book, the last chapter. And I've never shared this with anyone before. So, here it is. It's called The Second Greatest Love Story, The Answered Prayer. Once there was a woman, and deep, deep down in her heart, way in the bottom of her prayer closet, she prayed that God would send her a husband, a best friend, and a soulmate. No one ever knew this was her prayer, but she prayed for it every day for about 4 years. One day, during a women's prayer meeting, the women were instructed to hold hands with the person that you don't get to talk to as much. So this woman held hands with another woman, and the other woman said to her, "You want to be married." The first woman was in shock, for she never told a human soul, and she remained quiet and did not reply. What this woman did not know was from that day forward, that woman, she made it a point to pray for her. The two had touched and now agreed, and even though they didn't know each other and know it, God was working in the midst. At the same time, there was a man, not just any man, but a kind, gentle man. He was caring and full of wisdom, and he was a great dancer too. He was so sad because the love of his life, a beautiful and kind woman, went home to be with God. He missed her so much. He too prayed in secret for the deepest part of his heart for God to look upon him and grant him the ability to love the way he loved his wife. One day, someone offered to drive the woman who had been praying for her husband home. What this woman didn't know is that that woman was friends with this lonely man's friend. So instead of driving the girl home, she decided to make an unplanned pit stop. So at least that's what she thought. But God knew better. It was there that this unplanned stop that the lonely man and the woman who was praying for her husband met when they saw each other. This man and woman would not see one another until a year later. All the while she was praying God would allow her to see him just one more time so they can speak. And he too was asking God for an opportunity to see this woman again. Hence the two were praying in the spirit. They had not touched physically, but spiritually, and agreed. Now, exactly a year later, a year and 2 days later, she asked God to let not another year go by without seeing this man. And all the while he asked the same. They both decided if God would grant it, they would be together forever. So the woman set off to attend the same event and to do the same everything as the year before. And so did the man, in hopes of seeing each other. God heard their cry, because it was one. And on that very night, he saw it. It was his appointed time. He granted their prayer. 6 months later, they were married. Upon getting to know one another, they had discovered for 25 years they lived right around the corner from one another. But it wasn't their time. So, story is the story of David S. Brown and Marilyn M. Brown, formerly Avered, and known forever as Teen Brown. And the moral of this story is prayer works. Delayed does not mean denied, and there is one man for every one woman. And I wrote that on November 10th, 2010, 3 months after we got married. And I dedicate this to the first Mrs. Brown, because I know she was interceding for our husband on his behalf. And I end this with, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you an expected end. Jeremiah 29:11. And that is the last chapter in the third book. What do you think?
You're gonna have to hold on my questions.
Not yet. Ironically, they're written, but I started backwards with the end in mind. So, yeah. And I've never read that, but the Holy Spirit said, you gotta read it today, don't know why. So I totally get you, sister, when you said it. Because I'm not gonna lie, I was trying to hide at the pickle festival and not come here. And he was like, you better get yourself to moving. And yeah, and so I really wasn't trying to do this. But you know, when the Holy Spirit tells you, yeah. So, for anyone who thinks that it's ever too late for anything, it's not just marriage, careers, writing a book, rapping. God is in control. What He has for you, no one can take away.
Ain't nobody asked you to do
So I want to share that my sorority sister just got married 3 weeks ago at the age of 70. 70. She waited. She's like, God, I'm faithful, and I know you know what I want. So, 70.
Maybe you should touch my uncle's hand, and then a friend of yours that's looking join.
And that's one gift God gave me. It's for couples to be happy. I really do intercede, and I'm gonna pray for your beautiful biblical wife. I am. But you gotta invite me to the wedding, because I'm gonna come anyway. Can I do that? Ask my husband. Yeah. So whether you invite me or not, I'm gonna come anyway. So just so you know. They have to be inspected by not the ladies, cousin, nieces. No worries. God takes control of all that. 3 other sisters. I have 2 daughters. Everybody has it. I'll share this another chapter of the book, but I'll share this tidbit. My husband has 3 daughters and a son. And I went to school with one of them. I'm going to just say this part of the chapter. I really wasn't going to share this.
Where's the husband?
Huh?
Where's the husband?
He's right there.
You ain't want us to know?
I'm going to tell you how good God is.
I did.
My stepdaughter, you know, what Satan means for evil, God means for good. And my friend and I were arrested. And I praise God that the judge, who was really racist, he got sick that day. And this other judge told me I just needed a chance. And he sent me to this program to help act out my feelings. And the mentor in charge of the program will later on, 25 years later, be my stepdaughter and give me some great grandchildren. So inspecting, when they have to go through inspection, ain't nobody went through inspection like I did with my stepdaughters, because they were like, wait, I know you. Oh, I know you. So, God is good. So. And that's my awesome husband. That's the husband.